Call of Duty points are now in Infinite Warfare. If you want the best way to get free Call of Duty points, click the link down in the description, install the app, and start getting yourself some free Call of Duty points today. Yo, what is up guys? It's the Goblin and welcome back to another Call of Duty Infinite Warfare video. Today's video is going to be focused around tips on how to get better at Infinite Warfare, and I've got a list that I made up of the top 5 best and most important tips that will help every single player, from beginner to expert. All of these sort of tips, while you may know them, putting them into your actual gameplay, and sometimes even, myself, when I'm having a bad day playing, or even the best players on Call of Duty who are better than me, when they're having a bad day playing, they forget some of these tips, and when you break it down and go back to the basics, these tips are what are going to help you to be very good at Call of Duty Infinite Warfare multiplayer. So, hopefully you guys will enjoy this video. If you guys could drop a like on this thing, I'd really appreciate let's get 2,000 likes. That would be absolutely awesome, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and let's get right into it. So first of all, like I said, most of you guys will probably know at least half of these tips, or you've heard them before, or you know them, but there's a big difference between hearing the tips and actually putting them to use in your actual gameplays on Infinite Warfare, and that's what this video is all going to be about. So let's start off with the first one. The first tip that I wrote down is aim down sights around every corner where a potential enemy could be. Now, I made a video back like in Modern Warfare 3 saying this was the most important tip in Call of Duty, and it still is to this day. Every casual player on Call of Duty, most of them, they run around the corner. If they see a guy, they hip fire. If they don't see a guy, they just keep sprinting. Being caught in a sprint is something that makes me win most of my gunfights, is because I'm ready for the gunfight before the enemies are. It's not that my aim is so much superior in a tight corridor gunfight, because it's really just random. But having the edge on the enemy and being ready for that gunfight first is what can win you those gunfights. Now, what I mean by aiming down sights around any corner where there's potentially going to be an enemy is you have to pay attention to your mini-map, you have to know the map, and you have to know, okay, all the enemies are across the map, so I'm cool to sprint around this corner. Or even if you think there's a 10% chance there could be an enemy around that corner, aim down sights, walk around the corner, because you will catch him and you will win that gunfight 80 to 90% of the time if you are ready and he is not ready for the gunfight. Now, a tip that I like to use, and I use on every single class setup, is I use the attachment stock on assault rifles. On SMGs, they already by default basically have the same movement speed as an assault rifle with stock, so you don't really need it, although it can still be helpful. And what stock allows me to do on the assault rifles is it allows me to walk around those corners, aim down sights, but when I'm moving with stock and I'm walking with my aims down and I have stock attachment, it goes a lot faster and it isn't very clunky. It seems very smooth and allows me to get the edge on enemies and win a lot of gunfights. For the second tip we have here, it's talking about your movement setup on Infinite Warfare. Now, on these futuristic Call of Duty games, your control settings and all that stuff really does matter, and I want to stress this to you guys. On the old Call of Duty games, boots on the ground, you didn't really have to worry about jumping. You could just play on default controls, not really mess with the settings, and be fine. But on these Call of Duty games, you need to have some sort of advantage to your movement, because jumping around is so key in these games. Wall running, double jumping, sliding, every sort of movement advantage you can get over the enemies is huge. So what I wrote down for here is basically you need to have, using the default movement controls doesn't really work out well in this game, because to default and to jump with the X button or the A button, you're going to have to move your right thumb off of the aiming thumbstick to hit that jump button, and it's going to be a real struggle to be jumping around and shooting. So there's an easy fix to this. There's either in your settings, you can either use the bumper jumper, or I believe it's called the stick and move. Basically just go into the settings, look around at the settings, and find something different where you can make it so you can jump with your bumpers instead of jumping with that button, because it's easy to keep your finger on the bumper and on the sticks as well, because you're not using your thumb. You're going to be using your pointer finger or your middle finger on the bumper, and you're going to still be able to lock onto your aim. Or another thing that I do is I play on the normal, but it's because I have a scuff controller, and what scuff controllers do is it basically, I have a paddle on the back of my controller, which I just tap the paddle and it allows me to jump. These controllers are completely legal. They use them in tournaments and all that sort of stuff, and it's basically just an upgraded version of the bumper jumper or stick stick and move, and scuff controllers can be expensive, and there are like over $100, so that's why I know that a lot of people would rather just use the bumper jumper or the stick and move. So that's where there's multiple options here, but just make sure that you don't play with the default one. I mean, you can play with the default if you really think it's the best for you, but in my opinion, at least give these other control settings a try. And if you guys do want to get scuff controllers, you can always use my code Goblin for a discount. The link to that is all down in the description as usual. My third tip here, what I wrote down, is to use the mini-map even when there's no UAV. And this is something that I see a lot of people do. This is more of a tip for, beginner players, I guess, maybe. But, expert players will already know this. Expert players will probably know most of these tips. But what I mean by that is a lot of people only look at the UAV when there's or only look at the minimap when there's a UAV up. They think other than that, it's just completely useless. Not many people are shooting on the minimap. They're all using silencers. How I use the minimap is I use it based on my teammates' positions. And this is something I talk about a lot as well. I talk about most of these things a lot because they're so damn important. One thing that really helped me out in Call of Duty and took me to that next level is when I started using the minimap based on my teammates' positions. So if I see my team over here, I know, okay, are they fighting enemies or are there no enemies near them? Are the enemies spawning on the other side of the map? There's so many things you can get off that minimap even when you don't have view of the enemies, just based on your teammates' spawn systems, because this game is based around there's a system to it. There's an algorithm to where people spawn when people are standing at different places, what they push, and I'll talk about that more later in the video. But always use the minimap, man. I look at the minimap probably 60% of the time I play Call of Duty, and I look right in front of me probably 40% of the time. That's how important the minimap is, and that might be a little bit of a stretch, but you guys know what I mean, and I want to stress that. Number 4 is going to be the best tip is going to be you need to maximize your class setup, and this is something that a lot of people, I mean, I stress a lot. I do so many class setup videos, and that's because it's probably the most important thing in the game. I mean, just imagine someone who has a class setup with the worst perks, the worst guns, versus someone who has a type 2 with the best perks and the best attachments. It's not even going to be close. You're going to just destroy them, not based on skill, but based on how smart you were with the class setup. Now, I make sure every single perk, every single attachment is maximized. You only have 10 slots, and you have to always be running the best class setup, because that could give, just by having one perk, for example, you could waste a slot on a perk like Scavenger when you're not actually going on big streaks. Maybe you're less than a 1 KD player, you're running Scavenger, when in reality you could just be running Hardline and running Man at Arms, and you're wasting that slot, which would help you get another attachment or something like that. You need to maximize the class setups. I do a ton of class setup videos, and that's why, because they're so damn important in Call of Duty, and they always will be. It's insane how much of an advantage you can have just by having the right stuff on your setup. Now, the last tip I wrote down here is that you have to learn the maps, but it's not just learning the maps. Some people think learning the maps is, oh yeah, I know what the B flag is on that map. Every map for every game mode has a combo of spawns. So if you watch me for Black Ops 3, I was really good. I was really good at Nuketown Uplink, or Nuketown Dom, or Nuketown Hardpoint. And that's because I played the map so many times, and those specific game modes, I memorized these spawns. I know where they're going to spawn on Uplink. I know when the spawn's going to flip. I know when they're going to spawn at the side of the house instead of the backyard in Nuketown. And that's something that you can get by watching people's videos and gameplays and looking at the minimap, paying attention to the spawns, and just by playing the game. Of course, you play in the game, the more you play, the better you're going to be. And by playing the same game mode over and over, and I mean, if you're playing the same game mode, you're going to get the same maps, you're going to learn the spawns, and you're going to learn that combo. So TDM, domination, whatever game mode it is that you want to get good at, stick with that game mode, focus on learning the spawns. If you're going back and forth, kill confirm, domination, hardpoint, ground war, TDM, you're never going to master the spawns, and you're never going to be able to master the game, because you're running into different combos, even if it's the same thing. For example, Nuketown, it's my favorite map in Call of Duty ever, probably. I know everything about the spawns. TDM on Nuketown, I don't know the spawns that well. Kill confirmed, I don't know the spawns as well, because they are different based off different game modes. And you would actually be surprised with how much they change, and how hard it is to master spawns on a certain map. Could take, months, years, depending on how much you play. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Those were 5 of the best tips for Infinite Warfare. I want to get into making more tip videos specific for SMG players, specific for assault rifle players, maybe some more beginner tips, maybe some more advanced tips. You guys let me know in the comment section down below what sort of tip videos do you want to see from me based on Infinite Warfare or on Black Ops 3. Those are some really good tips I gave right there. And even if you're already doing 4 out of these 5 things, just by trying out that 5th one might get you to the next level. There's always room for improvement on Call of Duty, and much like mini video games. So if you guys did enjoy this video, guys, 2,000 likes, like I said, is the goal. I would really appreciate if you guys could smack that like button. That would be absolutely awesome to see that. Also, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. I appreciate all the new subscribers we've been getting since Infinite Warfare has been out, and everything is awesome, guys. Thanks. Subscribe for Cookie, Don't Looky. I'm out. Peace.